I received a conditional pardon that got me out of prison, but it did not give me my gun rights back. Because the pardon said, based on the completion of these conditions, we will commute the rest of your sentence. So I'm not in prison, I'm not on probation, I have nothing over my head. Basically, I'm free and clear, but I still have a record. I still have 12 felony convictions on my record. Now, in addition to that pardon, I had to file to get my civil rights restored. This was also paperwork to the governor, and this gave me the right to vote, the right to run for office, the right to be notary public, the right to serve on a jury, and those rights were restored. Now, to get my gun rights back would be a separate process. I actually have to go to the circuit court where I was convicted, which interestingly, in my new role as program director, I'm going to be working directly with that court. So I'm not sure if it'd be a conflict of interest. I'm not sure how I would even go about this. But I go to them and I petition to say, hey, I want to have my firearms rights restored. Now, I have to have a good reason for that. If I'm just like, I want guns, they're probably not going to give them to me. If I had, say, a family member who was giving me heirlooms or family heirlooms and saying, oh, well, I want to be able to accept these or these antiques or these firearms because that's consistent with my family values, they would probably be a lot more likely to accept it. But again, if I'm like, I'm scared for my life, they're like, well, why are you living in such a way that you're scared for your life, which would be a valid concern. So at some point in my life, I actually thought about this. I was dating somebody who had a bunch of guns at one point, and I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to be around them and they have guns and sometimes have guns in the car, I don't want to get caught up in a bad situation. So for that reason, I would consider applying for my firearms rights. Otherwise, I don't care. Like, I don't have any guns here. I don't really hang out with people who have guns or have guns on them all the time. It's not a big concern, but if there was one of those situations where it made sense, I would apply to have my rights restored because it would just make it easier. Because the problem is, like, if I get in a car with somebody else and they have a gun under their passenger seat and I don't know, well, I'm going to get charged. I'm going to go back to prison with a mandatory 5 years because I have constructive possession of that firearm. So getting my firearms rights restored would take that whole issue away. It would make it so I'm no longer going to prison automatically if I'm just in a place with a gun, even if I don't know about that gun. So at some point, it's probably something I'll pursue. But again, I have so many other things going on in my life. I'm looking at the book. I'm starting this new job. I'm working on a million things. It's not an immediate concern. But I do like the idea of having my rights fully restored, of basically being a person like anybody else. Because I spent my time in prison. I did more than the high point of the guidelines. I spent my time on probation. I received the conditional pardon. I've met with the governors, both the past, the current. I think this weekend I'm actually meeting with hopefully the future governor. But either way, yeah, it's something that I would consider, but it's not like pressing or it's not on the front of my mind.